This is Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining us today. We all know that when Cox Automotive releases its annual car buyer journey study, our industry takes note. So today, I'd like to welcome Jade Terreberry, who's the Senior Director of Strategic Development at Autotrader and Kelley Blue Book, and Vanessa Ton, who is the Senior Manager of Research and Market Intelligence with Cox Automotive, whose team led this study. So thank you so much for joining us today, ladies.
Thanks for having us.
Well, thank you for having us.
Sure. They are here to give dealers, OEMs, and those of you watching a behind-the-scenes look at their highly anticipated results for their 14th annual, that's right, 14th annual Car Buyer Journey Study. And more importantly, what actions you should be taking in your business and marketing strategy as a result of those findings and insights they uncovered here in this study. So thank you so much again for joining us. And my first question is for you, Vanessa. Vanessa, let's first help our audience understand what exactly the Car Buyer Journey Study is and why is this study so important to dealers and OEMs alike?
Well, as you mentioned, we've been doing this for 14 years to monitor consumer behavioral changes, to understand how their shopping experience was, what their dealership experience was like, also in terms of their online type of behaviors, to see how they shop, what channels they shop through, and then understanding their general sentiment on what's happening out there in the marketplace. So we do this year over year to tell our clients, OEM clients, dealer clients, as you mentioned, to see how they can improve the customer service and what strategies they need to have in place in order to improve. So those are the main things that we capture. But Jim, the key thing I want you to know for the two themes we have this year is normalization. So because in 2022, that's at the height of the chip shortage, right?
Sure.
So it was an anomaly year. So now things are normalizing again. The other thing is there's certain channels or certain aspects of the purchase journey that's resilient. And that's one of the key things we saw in the study is resilience. And that's really important. And that's what we want to share with the industry.
Sure.
And speaking of industry, we don't keep all this information to ourselves. We share it out and we share it to everyone who would listen.
That's right. That's right. Jade, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so all great points that Vanessa made there. And at Cox Automotive, we take it really seriously to provide value to our dealer clients and our OEMs, and to make sure that they really understand how these real world insights apply to their ability to decision make and to drive their bottom line profit. And so, when we think about all the things we're going to cover today, the stats from the study, and we think about normalization and resiliency, I do want to say, though, that even though we want to get normal, it's been a long time since we've had that, but we also have to recognize that we are right on the verge of a buyer's market that we have not seen for a really long time. And so there is this necessity for us to have our dealers and our OEMs get back into the mindset of kind of a push market, using all that data that they have at their fingertips to hone their skills and get good at some of the things that they haven't had to do in a long time to sell cars. And a lot of that comes down to refining and improving the shopping to buying experience for consumers.
Sure. I think you had a really good point there on creating a better shopping, buying experience for consumers. That's what it's all about today. That's what dealers want. That's what OEMs want. That's what consumers want, right? So why do you think that is the key to success?
Yes, the elevated consumer experience is everything. It sounds a little bit cheesy when we talk about personalization and the expectations that consumers have, but the truth is, consumers want what they want. And we have to recognize that every one of those consumer segments, they actually want different things from us, from our websites, from our shopping experiences, from the way our teams in the dealership are following up and connecting and communicating with them. And I had the pleasure of hosting a panel in Kansas City a few weeks ago, and I had far ends of the spectrum. I had an executive with GM that is responsible for all of their consumer experience and governance. And then I had a Ford dealership GM that grew up in the organization, started washing cars, but what was overwhelmingly a thread in all the comments that they made about consumer experience is that there is this want and need of a sophisticated experience across all of those consumer segments. And it's not something that buyers are willing to sacrifice now.
That's
If
right.
you,
That's right.
especially as we think about it being a buyer's market.
Oh, I know. No
Every
question.
one of those contacts matters.
That's right. That's right. Speaking of what consumers want and a personalization being so important, Vanessa, did you see any results in the study that really pointed to why it's more important than ever to have a connected, personalized experience for consumers?
Absolutely, Jim. So as Jade has mentioned, they do want that personalized touch, that sophistication, right? And that's because we're seeing more increase in cross-shopping. It's a push market, right? People still find that even though inventories have improved, the affordability, the prices are still a pain point.
Yeah.
Therefore, only 30% know exactly what they want because they still have to search for a better deal. They still have to search for what they can afford, what's in their budget. So by that, I think that, dealers have a lot to work with. And the key thing that I think it's signaling that they want a personalized experience is that 60% of the buyers submitted some form of lead where they're providing this information about themselves.
Wow.
And that's
60%.
Like 60% say,
Yeah.
you know what? Here's my information. I'm ready to buy.
Yeah.
And please tailor to what I want, because that's going to distinguish dealers from other dealers, right? So I think with leads, with digital retailing, and I know, Jade, you always say retailing, but I always have to say digital steps, because our data shows that dealers, 81% said, you know what, in order for me to provide that customized experience, I utilize digital retailing to help improve that. Yeah. So that's what people are using, and that's what's really important.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So anything to add to that, Jade?
Yeah, I'll just say digital retailing is, it's not a dirty word. It's just all retailing now has some kind of digital steps that the consumer is taking within the process. And right. But I do want to touch on that cross-shopping behavior, because when we see stats like that, year over year in these studies, asking some of those questions in the same way, what that tells me is buyer's market plus cross-shopping equals incrementality opportunity for the dealers and OEMs that do it right.
That's right.
That really take advantage and understand that we have new car buyers looking at used. We have used car buyers looking at new, because now there are OEM incentives flooding back into the marketplace, and we have maybe lower rates than what they can get on a used vehicle. And then we have everybody considering CPO because they want that peace of mind.
That's right.
And so incrementality means market share opportunity that's going to go to somebody.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big takeaway there. Incrementality and market share.
That's right. Vanessa and Jade, this is for both of you. So another hot topic dealers are talking about are EVs, and dealers, are all trying to strategize how not only to move their inventory, but to educate both their team on how to sell EVs and consumers on how to buy and own EVs from their brand. Many of which are new models. Jade, any thoughts on how dealers can do this more effectively through the lens of the consumer? And then, of course, Vanessa, any insights that you can lend as well?
Yes, Jim. So I will start. It's okay to vent a little bit. The elephant in the room when we talk about EVs.
Two letters that will conjure up such emotions.
That's right.
Yes.
So, when I think about EVs, the first kind of three pieces that pop into my mind are awareness, affordability, and infrastructure.
Right.
That's where everybody's head goes.
That's right.
And so awareness is the one that us, our clients, our dealers, our OEMs are in direct control of. And so we really believe across Cox Automotive that there are three main things that we can do to start really driving awareness in the EV space. And so that is first, learn. We are learning more about EVs, how to measure battery health, how to put the right stats and information out there in front of consumers. Secondly, that's search and customize. Consumers that have not purchased an EV before for have undoubtedly so many questions in their mind. The difference between plug-in hybrid, full EV, full electric. And so, we're really committed as an organization, and Kelley Blue Book for 100 years has been the most trusted resource in the automotive industry. And so we're just releasing the Kelley Blue Book Electric Guide, which has reviews and expert advice and ratings and all kinds of information, even down to just in-depth definitions of what all the consideration factors or metrics may be when it comes to,
bring down some
shopping
of that anxiety
for an EV. And then on Autotrader, we have all these new great search filters that are helping dealers get more exposure on the inventory that they have, both new and used. But the biggest thing that I want to say, and I'm going to go back to a friend of mine, Kevin Fry, with the Weiler Group, but was with him a few weeks ago, and I heard him say, this isn't a light switch. You remember when we got our first cell phones, and it was like, cell phone or landline. We'll never get rid of our landline. And so the EV adoption is going to be much like that. It's going to be steady and it's going to be stable, and it's going to take time for everybody to catch up. But the role that we can play, in fact, that GM Ford dealer in that Kansas City panel, he drives the Ford Lightning truck, and he said, without fail, I have to go outside of my dealership at least once every couple of days and show one of my salespeople, one of my product specialists, how to plug an EV into the charger. And
that's
you think, like, it sounds so simple, but education, awareness, and being comfortable being a little uncomfortable.
That's right.
This is new for everybody, and it's up to us to kind of set the tone with buyers and consumers that it doesn't have to be a light switch, it doesn't have to be all in, it's going to come in time. And so, we can really take responsibility together to tiptoe into those waters as there are more even used EVs coming along, and an opportunity for dealers to earn that buyer back that maybe they lost to Tesla 3 or 4 years ago, and now they have an opportunity to earn that business back.
Vanessa, want to jump in there?
Yes. So from a study standpoint, EV and gas engine buyers or ICE buyers, they tend to have a different experience. And I'm going to say different because I'm going to say EV buyers, they tend to have a better shopping experience. 80% of EV buyers said they're satisfied with the shopping experience compared to the 71% of gas engine buyers. And the key reasons why, Jim, would be one, they're more likely to pre-order. So EV owners, they're more likely to just order online or taking more of those digital steps. Two, going to the whole digital omni-channel thing. We do see that EV buyers, 69% of them use a mix of this omni-channel approach, which is both online and offline. 69%. Compared to the 39% of gas engine buyers who are leveraging omni-channel. So the key thing that I want to say is that EV buyers, they're more tech savvy. And with being more tech savvy, they're doing much more online, because the key thing to realize is that EV buyers, they're like luxury buyers, but they're like super luxury because the price point seems to be a bit high. But with luxury buyers, they want to save more time more than anyone else, so more efficiency, and they also want a very customized experience overall as well.
Vanessa, with all of the go ahead.
No, that's just, I keep telling my clients, hey, get them online, give them tools, because they're going to be happier.
That's right. With all of the changed shopper and buyer behaviors that you've seen with consumers, especially over the last few years, what are some of those bigger changes been when it comes to online searches, and what should dealers be doing or shifting in their own online strategy?
Well, what we're seeing, and I talked about resilience, Jim, what we're seeing is that third-party sites are the most resilient out of everyone else. This is where buyers go to research, transact. 78% of buyers, they have visited a third-party site, more so than OEM sites, dealer sites, lender sites, any other sites. So what we would tell clients is, we know that OEM sites, dealer sites, third-party sites, they're all complementary. And to make third-party sites as part of their strategy, because you're going to drive more incremental traffic, but also giving you that opportunity to present more personalized content to the customers who are buying. So that's the key thing that I want them to know about refining and shifting their online strategy.
Yeah, I see you nodding your head. You want to jump in on that?
Yes, I come back to the efficiencies that our clients can find by using data to make decisions.
Sure.
We always talk about measurement, but my new buzzword is fierce measurement. It's an acronym. I know I love acronyms. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But when we think about how our dealers can use the data that they have to activate on the right message, to get the right car in front of the right consumer at the right time, and then how that translates through their organization into time savings, higher close rates, better quality in the consumer experience, but also a better experience for their dealership staff. Yeah. And we know staff turnover, it's a problem. It's always a problem in automotive. But ultimately, consumers want what they want. Yeah. And this buyer's market, they have more to choose from than they ever have had before. And so if you can find a way to connect that data with where to serve the vehicles, because people will. They're searching from further away, the same way we talk about digital retailing. Distance retailing is as important a piece of that equation now. You can't just have solid brick and mortar operations, solid digital retailing or e-commerce operations, but you really have to put that distance retailing piece in, and you can find some good incrementality. We keep coming back to that, but those efficiencies that increase your return on investment and your return on advertising spend dollar for dollar with happier customers and happier staff. So it's a win-win.
Very, very good point for sure. Okay, as we tie up our conversation here, the question for both of you, but I'll start with you, Jade. On paving the way for a more successful road forward, what advice can you give to dealers to do now to set their dealership up for even more success in the future?
Sure. So I'll go straight to that acronym. So one is future focus in everything they are doing today. Normalization is great, but it really gives you an opportunity to use data to say, here's where I am today, here's where I want to be tomorrow, and here are these baby steps I'm going to take to get there. Incrementality, critical. There are market share opportunities up for grabs for those that are ready to recognize that you need to meet consumers where they are, understand that every one of those consumer segments, they have a different way that they want to shop, and so you need to give them the choices and be ready to connect with them where they are. Sure. Expense management and efficiencies are key and critical as we move into what will be a very different margin profile than what we have seen in a long time. It could be a huge opportunity if our dealers get the combination of volume and turn and profitability right. That's going to be a magical balance for dealers and OEMs to find over the next handful of years, which brings me to our R, which is revenue streams. Make sure that you know what your revenue streams are today. We talk a lot and have in the past about the stability of your fixed ops revenue stream, but there are other revenue streams out there that our dealers and manufacturers need to be looking for. Delivery can be a revenue stream. Aftermarket, F&I product and insurance and peace of mind sales opportunities. It doesn't have to happen at point of sale, but you got to have a process to start driving those revenue streams. Consumer experience, elevate that experience. Nothing more important than that. We're going to hit it again and again. And don't be afraid of moving into e-commerce. Just like ICE versus EV, it is not a light switch. You don't have to make a choice, but you've got to start moving in that direction because all of the data suggests, even though it maybe hasn't happened on the trajectory or the curve or a single inflection point as many in the industry thought that it potentially could, but those things are ahead of us. And being first to market at anything is hard, but paving that ground and learning and using data to make those decisions will be critical for our dealers. So fierce measurement, and remember all of those pieces of our acronym.
All great stuff, that is for sure. Vanessa, do you want to jump in on that?
Yes. So just going back to everything that Jay talked about and all the key learnings from the study, and I'm going to tie it back to resilience again, Jim, that dealers have done a great job delivering this customer experience to the customers in the last 4 years, from the pandemic to the chip shortage to everything, and they've done consistently well. But there's still room for improvement. I always say the room for improvement is Ritz-Carlton type of status, that customized type of experience. And you do that through like enhanced leads that I talked about. You do that through digital retailing that we saw in the data, because digital retailing in our data shows that it's a guaranteed in terms of saving time, at least 40 minutes. It saves you a lot of headaches as well, less frustrations, less pain points, but overall, better selection. They feel like they have a better selection. They feel better about the pricing that they got. So they feel overall really good with the dealership as well. So I can't stress that enough for consumers, for dealers to consider.
Yeah, for sure. No doubt these are valuable tips and examples that you've shared with all of our dealerships, that I should say all the dealerships can get a benefit from learning more about and such. So Jade Terreberry, Senior Director of Strategic Development at Cox Automotive, and Vanessa Ton, who's a Senior Manager of Research and Market Intelligence of Cox Automotive. Thank you so much for being here today. We really enjoyed having both of you ladies here with us today. I know that our audience will get so much out of your insights. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
We always love being with you. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching Driving Solutions, exclusively on CPTnews.com.